Hi there, welcome to the Treatment-Free Beekeeping channel. Today I am rehabilitating some frames. So, for those of you not familiar with how to do this, this is more of a longer term project. These frames, if you look at some of these frames, they have wax moths eaten on them. You can see they're, get a good look at that. These frames have been around for a long time. Many years, in fact. Looking at them, I would say I put this frame together in 2003. This one probably 2005-ish. Some of these other ones, different points in history. So, let's get started. First we want to look to see how structurally sound they are. This one's pretty good. I think it was glued. Alright, but we've got a problem here. When I did these frames, I did not put any sort of protection for the N-bar holes. Just an example, here is my current method, the way that I do it currently. I use a staple on the relevant side of the hole so that the wire will not cut through the wood. And as you can see on this one, the wire has cut through substantially into the wood, and what that causes is you can never keep the wire tight. Every time you tighten it by using one of these, crimper, it just cuts into the wood more, and so whatever tightness you had available is no longer available, and it just gets looser and looser. So we're going to be taking these frames apart. Well, not apart. I'm going to be taking the wire off of this one, and we'll go from there. So I use needle nose pliers. You want nice fresh ones with good strong tips. You don't want them to be worn out because otherwise they won't grip the nail. Pull that right out of there. Depending on how you've done yours, what kind of nail is that? Might have to press the pliers into the wood a little bit to grip the top of that nail. There we go. And then if the wire doesn't pop right out, you can pull it out here. Okay, pull that loose. Now this one, I had nailed this into the sidebar. I don't do that anymore because that sidebar can cause problems. If you want to shave the sidebar, or if you want to run your hive tool over that to scrape the propolis off to make sure that all the frames stick together properly, you're going to dull your hive tool. And anyway, I don't do that anymore. So you can see how I do here. I put the nail down just past. See, this is the thick part. This is a Hoffman frame. That's what these are called. They have this spacer here to keep the frames properly separated for the bee space. So what I do is I put the nail down here, and then I just run the wire down to that. There are other ways of doing it. Whatever way you find helpful, that's the way that you should do. I'm going to pull this out a little bit so it'll come through the tail, through the hole. The tail will come through the hole. And just to keep that from making too much of a mess in the trash can, wind it up, give it a twist so it'll stay down there, not cause any problems. Now I'll be going through rewiring these frames in a different video. This one also was back in the day when I used to not take the wedge out. I don't do that anymore. I do take the wedge out now. It's much easier to nail that in there to hold the foundation. Just gonna toss that away. Use a regular old box knife to trim the little wood flashing that remains in here. so that that's nice and flat, so that when I get around to nailing the foundation down, I don't have to do too much effort. Now I don't have my hive tool here with me today. What I am using is this nifty little tool from Man Lake. It is a frame scraper, whatever this slot here scraper is. So I can get down in there, scrape that out. If I'm scraping the, if you like the sort that likes to use the bottom slot, that's really useful for that. I also, as you can see, I like to sweep my detritus aside and then melt that down for wax later. So there's my frame. It's good and structural. It's not loose. I'm pretty sure it was glued. Normally they won't stay this tight if they weren't glued. They will become like this one was. No, not this one. Well, this one you can see is a little wobbly. So what you can do with that, this was originally nailed together with 2 brad nails in each of the end bars. I don't use brad nails anymore. They're really, really cheap, so they can be useful that way. So now I use a narrow crown stapler, air powered, so I can line it up, and after you've tuned it all, because you don't want to shoot the staples in extra deep or anything. And just give it a couple of staples in here. Double fired on that one. Didn't go in all the way, so I'm going to pop it. Good to go. Pull stronger. It's never going to be totally, but the strength of that staple will hold it in place, so you don't have to worry about it. Next type of frame I'm going to look at. For those of you who do foundationless, you will like this, because look at this frame. This is a foundationless frame. I stapled stapled, probably glued too, a little wedge in there that I had. There's a little piece of wood that I cut diagonally, so it kind of forms a point. I don't know how well you can see it, being that it's not 3D. So the bees use that as a comb guide, build the comb down there. And these are the easiest ones to clean up, because there's no slots to worry about, there's no wedge to worry about, and it was properly done on the end bars. So most of the wires are good enough. I'm going to tighten this one up, tighten that one up. And I always like to have the top one the tightest. When you're tightening up the wires with a crimper, top one should be the tightest. It's going to hold up your foundation best. The 2 middle ones should not be very tight, because you will bow the end bar. I don't know if you can look down that end bar, you can see that it's not quite straight. Right? You want to limit that as much as you can, because if that gets too bowed, then your foundation won't even fit in the frame. And that won't be fun at all. Alright, next one I'm looking at. I had a bunch of examples here. This is one that has eyelets. You can buy eyelets if you want to spend a little bit more money than the staples. They are little aluminum or brass things that you, before you assemble the frame, not after, before. If you do it after, you can mess up the frame and break it. But before you assemble the frame, you hammer these into the end bar, and you buy a little tool along with it. So stick one on like that, hammer that into the hole, and that will keep your frame, keep the wire from digging into the frame. Now, I do use these, but I haven't put any new frames together lately, so it's not an issue lately. I'm going to be doing that. I'll do a video on that too. I've got a couple of boxes of new frames over here that we will be assembling. lid. Okay, so that's what those are. This frame is pretty well clean. Don't have to worry about the wire. Wires are a little loose. Hear that? Can you hear that? Microphone's down here. That's loose. What you want it to sound like, something like this. Okay? Any of you play guitar at all, or any stringed instrument, you'll understand that a tighter string means a higher frequency of vibration. That's good enough. Alright. The frame's done. Hope my framing's good here on the screen, because I don't want anybody to be lost. Alright, what did I do with this frame? Okay, this frame is a slotted top and bottom bar from Man Lake. I put these together about 4 or 5 years ago. So they have the thicker bottom bar Man Lake has. Good and thick bottom bar. I don't care about the bottom bar. I don't use foundation that goes down that far. I'll have another video out on how I do foundation. But I cut the foundation off about 3/8 of an inch above there, so that it kind of hangs free and the bees have an opportunity to build as much drone comb as they like. And this one again has eyelets. It's a little loose, maybe more than I'd like, but it was put together with 3 brad nails. Let's give it a couple of staples. The older frames get, I mean, eventually they're going to come to a point where they just aren't workable anymore. But these aren't that bad. Can you hear that? Tune your ukulele there. Alright, oh, and I missed it. I messed up. I'm going to use the frame tool. Oh, by the way, also I welded. The frame tool doesn't come welded right here. I welded that together so that that would stay nice and firm. I don't think it makes a big difference. It's how they sell it, and everybody seems to use them that way. So if you don't like it, you can weld it. I also sharpened it. Okay. Get gunk, which is mostly just old wax, out of here, so that when I put my new foundation in, I will not have anything in my way. Okay. Alright, and now a special treat. This is a frame that came from the Fat Bee Man, Don Kuchenmeister. Some nukes that I bought from him back in 2000, I'm gonna say 11. So he holds his in with double-sided fishing line, one on either side of the foundation. You can see it here. There's 2 X's. 2 X's. And then 2 hair clips. Hair, whatever those are. I don't have hair. I'm not worried about it. So I'm going to pull those out. And this is not a criticism of his method or anything. It's just I am rehabbing these frames to my specifications. So that's all I'm doing here. Pull out the nails. And he uses good nails, so that's good. You want to buy nails, if you're buying nails, you want to buy them so that when you hammer in the wedge, the nail isn't going to come through the bottom of the board. So this is probably a 3/4 inch nail, so it's a good nail to use. With a nice big head on it. You don't want to use like finish nails that have pretty much no head. There we go. Pull out the fishing line. And scrape where the wedge is going to go. Oh, looks like we've got a couple of nails. Looks like he attached his wedges with little short brad nails. Maybe 5/8 of an inch brad nails. Again, whatever works for you, and if you stay in beekeeping long enough, you will discover new methods to do things and you will refine. And then in a few years when you're cycling out your comb, you'll be coming back and finding this fun stuff. I also like to, before I put the foundation in, I will come through these and scrape the end bars here to make sure that the end bars are fitting together properly. You want these end bars, and brood comb especially, to be right up against one another. And a lot of times what happens, as you can see here, is the beekeepers will not quite get them tight, and it's a space that's too small for a bee to fit into, and so they will propolize it. And you will have end bars that build up these chunks of propolis, which by themselves it's no problem. Propolis isn't that big a deal. But as time goes on, they'll build up more and more, and the frames will be separated further and further, and then once you do scrape it or do take care of it and they get back together properly, you might crush bees between combs that stick out too far. So, let's see. Did I miss any tools? Got a regular old tack hammer, indispensable tack hammer. I like to have at least 3 of every copy of every tool. 3 copies of every tool. I only have 2 of these. I need to go buy another one because my theory is that if I want to find something, I need at least 3 of them. So for instance, I have 2 of these, but you only see 1. 2 of those. I have 3 of these, but you only see 1. I have 3 of these, and I only have 2 here. This is your basic bee brush. Very useful tool. I also use it for sweeping up my workspace as I'm working. So those are cool. Anything I've missed? My staple gun, if you're curious, is a Hitachi, purchased at Lowe's. The staples are 1.25" or 1 3/8", whichever is the longest that's available. Narrow crown staples, 1/4 inch. Anything else you need to know? If you have any questions, comment below. Check out the description for links to other works of mine and other groups, especially the Facebook group, the podcast, things like that. I guess I'm done for this video, so have fun keeping bees, because if you're not having fun, that's not right. Have fun keeping bees, because if you're not having fun, you probably shouldn't be doing it.